The twin suns of Rizek burned in the orange sky, spreading heat over the vast alien market. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and fear. Shouts filled the streets, traders selling beasts, machines, and slaves from across the galaxy. But in one dark corner, among cages and dust, stood a small figure, trembling, silent, and barefoot. Her name was Lyra. Her silver skin was covered with dirt. Her thin body shook in the heat. She had been standing for hours, waiting for someone to buy her. The merchant beside her, a fat creature with blue scales, shouted again and again, "A young worker! Strong bones! Good eyes!" But no one looked at her twice. Lyra's eyes, bright once, were dull now. She didn't know how long she had been there. Maybe days, maybe weeks. Her mind was foggy. She remembered only hunger, cold, and pain. When her parents sold her to the merchant, they said it was for food, but no food ever came. She was just one more life lost to the galaxy's endless cruelty. The crowd moved like waves, aliens of every color and shape, with horns, claws, and glowing eyes. They passed by her cage, laughing, pointing, whispering. Too thin. Not pure blood. Broken. The merchant grew angry. Someone buy her. Half price. Still no one came. At sunset, the market lights flickered on, dim orbs that floated above the stalls. The air grew colder, and the smell of oil mixed with rain. The merchant spat and shouted, "Useless thing!" He ripped the tag from her neck and threw it in the mud. Then, to everyone's surprise, he pushed her out of the cage. "Go, I don't feed trash." Lyra stumbled. The metal ground was cold under her bare feet. For the first time in months, she was outside the bars, but not free. She was just abandoned. The crowd laughed as she tried to cover herself with her arms. Some threw stones. A group of children pointed and mocked. One shouted, "The market rejects you, freak." She ran through the alleys, past the glow of the merchant fires. Her feet bled, her breath trembled. Finally, she collapsed behind a pile of scrap metal, crying softly. No one cared. The market forgot her as quickly as it forgot everything else. Hours passed. The night grew colder. Rizek's moons rose, shining silver over the rusted roofs. Lyra lay curled on the ground, shaking. Her lips whispered old songs her mother once sang. Songs of rain and warmth and a home that no longer existed. Then she heard it. Footsteps, slow, heavy. Not the dragging feet of a drunk trader. Not the clicking legs of an insectoid guard. These were calm, steady, human. Her heart raced. Humans were rare here. Traders said they were dangerous, quiet predators with strange emotions. No one trusted them, but no one dared fight them either. A shadow fell over her. She looked up and froze. The man was tall, wrapped in a dark coat that hid most of his body. His eyes, pale and sharp, seemed to see everything. His face carried scars. One ran from his brow to his cheek, another across his jaw. He didn't look cruel. He looked tired. In his hand was a small light that hummed softly. He aimed it down at her. "What are you doing here, kid?" His voice was deep, calm. She didn't answer. Her throat was dry. He crouched down slowly, not too close. "You're not from here, are you?" She shook her head, still covering herself. He sighed. "They left you here?" Her lips trembled. "No one bought me." He looked around at the empty stalls, the flickering lights, the garbage piles. Then he looked back at her. For a long moment, he said nothing. The silence stretched, heavy and strange. Finally, he took off his coat and placed it around her shoulders. The warmth shocked her, real warmth, soft and human. "Put it on," he said. She stared at him, confused. "Why?" He smiled faintly. "Because it's cold, and because no one deserves to freeze alone." She didn't understand him, not fully. But his voice carried something she hadn't heard in years. Kindness. He stood up. "Come on, let's get you out of here before the guards start patrolling." She hesitated. Trust was dangerous. Every kindness she had known before had turned into pain. But this man didn't look like the others. His eyes weren't hungry, they were human. Slowly she took his hand, and that's when everything changed. As the human led her out of the market's shadows, lights flickered behind them. Somewhere far above, a ship hummed quietly, watching. Someone had noticed him. He wasn't just a traveler. He was something else. And by taking her hand, he had broken a rule that could shake the stars. The night air on Rizek grew colder as they walked through the narrow alleys of the alien city. Neon lights flickered above cracked walls. The ground was wet from acid rain that burned faintly when it touched Lyra's feet. She walked close behind the human, still wrapped in his coat. He didn't speak much. His steps were slow, heavy, careful. The long weapon on his back glowed faint blue. Not a blade, not a gun, something older. His name, she learned later, was Captain Rhys Vale, a name whispered in stories of wars that ended before she was born. For now, he was just the human who didn't leave her behind. They turned down a quieter street, where only machines hummed, and a few alien beggars slept under plastic sheets. A floating drone passed overhead, scanning the ground with red light. Rhys froze, pulling Lyra behind a broken cart. "Stay low," he whispered. She obeyed instantly, heart pounding. The drone hovered above them, then moved away. When the sound faded, he finally stood up. "They're looking for someone," he muttered. Lyra looked at him with fear. "For you?" He didn't answer. His face stayed calm, but his eyes were sharp, watching every shadow. They walked again. When they reached an abandoned building, Rhys pushed the metal door open and motioned her inside. The air was thick with dust. Broken screens lined the walls, and a faint hum came from a corner generator. "Sit," he said. She sat on the floor, hugging his coat around herself. He searched through an old crate, pulling out a small box. Inside were strange tools and packets of dried food. He handed one to her. "Eat." Lyra hesitated, then opened it. The taste was strange. Salty, heavy, but real food. She ate slowly, afraid it might vanish. Rhys watched her for a moment, then leaned against the wall. "You shouldn't have been at that market." "I didn't choose it," she said softly. "They sold me." He nodded. "Slavers. They run half this city. The guild protects them. Why did you help me?" she asked after a pause. "You don't know me." Rhys looked at the ground. "Because someone once helped me." His voice grew quiet. For a moment, he wasn't the cold soldier she had seen in the market, just a tired man remembering something painful. Lyra wanted to ask more, but before she could speak, the generator light flickered. A red signal flashed across the broken screen. Rhys moved quickly, typing something on a small wrist device. His calm face hardened. "What is it?" Lyra whispered. "Scanners picked up human DNA near the market. That means they know I'm here." "Who?" "The Rizek Authority," he said. And maybe worse. She didn't understand why that mattered, but she saw the tension in his jaw and fear bloomed in her chest. "Can they hurt you?" He gave a short laugh. "They can try." He turned to the door, checking the street again. "We can't stay here." "Come on." Lyra stood, weak but determined. She followed him out into the night. The rain had stopped, leaving steam rising from the metal ground. Somewhere in the distance, engines roared. As they walked, Lyra looked up at him. "You're different," she said. "Not like the others." He raised an eyebrow. "Others?" "Humans. Traders say humans fight for no reason, that you don't feel anything, that you destroy everything you touch." Rhys stopped. He turned to her slowly. "Is that what they tell you?" She nodded. He looked away, his expression unreadable. Maybe they're right. Or maybe they're just afraid of what humans remember. What do humans remember? He looked toward the stars, voice low. "That once this galaxy belonged to us." Lyra stared at him, not understanding. Before she could ask, a loud metallic sound echoed behind them, a hovercraft landing. Lights flashed down the alley. "Run!" Rhys shouted. She ran. He grabbed her hand, pulling her through smoke and debris. Red beams sliced through the darkness. The air filled with the sound of shouting guards. Target confirmed. Human presence detected. Rhys turned, drawing his weapon. With a sharp motion, the weapon unfolded, glowing blue along its edges. He fired. A silent pulse of light that cut through the nearest drone. The explosion shook the walls. "Keep moving!" he yelled. They dashed through another alley, climbed over a wall, and dropped into an old tunnel. The noise above grew distant. When they finally stopped, both were breathing hard. Lyra's legs trembled. Rhys wiped blood from a small cut on his cheek. "Are they gone?" she whispered. For now, he sat down beside her. The tunnel was dark, the only light coming from his weapon. She looked at him. The human who fought soldiers to save someone worthless. "Why risk so much?" she asked again. He met her eyes. "Because you remind me what we're fighting for." "Fighting who?" He smiled faintly. "You'll see soon enough." Outside, far above them, a satellite turned its lens toward the city. A message pulsed through the dark. Subject Reese Vale confirmed alive. Human intervention detected. Prepare retrieval team. And deep in space, something ancient stirred. The tunnel stretched for miles beneath the alien city. The air smelled of rust and old smoke. Faint lights blinked above them, relics of a forgotten age. Every sound echoed, making Lyra flinch with each drip of water or shifting pipe. Reese walked ahead, his weapon lighting the way with a soft blue glow. His coat, torn and dirty, hung heavy on his shoulders. Lyra followed closely, holding it tighter around herself. "How far are we going?" she asked in a quiet voice. "Far enough that they can't track us," he replied. His tone was calm but firm, the voice of someone used to running. Lyra's bare feet hurt from the rough metal floor, but she didn't complain. The human had saved her life twice in one night, and something inside her whispered that he would again if needed. Still, she couldn't stop the question that had been burning in her mind. "They said humans don't come here anymore," she said. "That your kind was banned after the war." Reese didn't stop walking. "They're right. Then why are you here?" He turned his head slightly, and in the faint light she saw something in his eyes, not anger, not fear, but guilt. "I'm here because I didn't finish what I started." She didn't understand. But his voice carried the weight of centuries, like he had seen things no one should. They finally reached a broken door at the end of the tunnel. Reese pushed it open and cold night air rushed in. They stepped out onto a cliff overlooking the city, glowing towers, flying ships, and far away, the market where she had once stood. From up here, it looked small, powerless. Lyra wrapped the coat tighter and whispered, "It looks beautiful from far away." Reese gave a dry laugh. "Everything does until you see what's inside." He reached into his pack and pulled out a small device. When he pressed a button, a hologram appeared, a map of the planet marked with red zones. "They'll search the lower city first," he said. "We'll head for the outer ridge. There's an old shelter there." Lyra stared at the hologram, eyes wide. "You know this world well." "I should," he said. "I helped build half of it." She blinked in surprise. "You built it? Humans built this planet?" he sighed. "A long time ago, before your people even lived here. Humans colonized thousands of worlds. Then we left, or maybe we were forced to leave. Why?" Reese turned off the map. His expression darkened. "Because power scares those who don't have it." Silence stretched between them. The wind howled softly across the rocks. Finally, Lyra asked, "Were you in the war?" He looked out over the glowing city, eyes distant. "Yes, I was a captain in the Terran Vanguard. We came to protect the border colonies from the Syndicate. But things changed. The war stopped being about defense. It became about control." He clenched his fist. "They called us monsters." "Maybe they were right." Lyra shook her head slowly. "You're not a monster," he smiled sadly. "You don't know what I've done." Before he could say more, a deep rumble shook the ground. Lights flared in the sky, search ships. The Rezek Authority was still hunting. Reese grabbed her arm. "Move!" They ran down a slope, ducking behind rocks as beams of red light scanned the cliffs. One beam passed inches above Lyra's head and she gasped. Reese pulled her close, shielding her with his body. When the light passed, he whispered, "They're using thermal scans now. We need to move fast." They sprinted again, heading toward the dark outline of mountains. The air grew colder, thinner. Lyra's legs trembled, but she didn't stop. Every time she fell, Reese pulled her back up. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached a narrow cave hidden by vines. Reese led her inside. It was dark and silent, except for the faint hum of his gear. He dropped his pack and knelt beside a console built into the wall, old human technology, half buried in dust. He brushed it clean and powered it on. Blue lights flickered to life. "What is this place?" Lyra whispered. "An old outpost," Reese said. "From before the treaties." "No one knows it still exists," the console beeped softly. A voice crackled through the speaker, old, broken, but still human. "Terran command signal detected. Identity confirmed, Captain Reese Vale." Lyra's eyes widened. "You're still connected to them?" Reese's jaw tightened. "Not anymore. But it seems they're still watching." He turned to her. "You need rest. There's a room in the back." She hesitated. "Will they find us here?" "Not tonight." She walked away slowly, glancing back at him. He stood before the console, face lit by blue light, looking like a ghost from another age. When she was gone, Reese leaned on the wall and whispered to himself, "What am I doing?" The console beeped again. A new message appeared, encrypted human military code. Reese Vale, you broke contact protocol. Directive 7 violated. Stand by for retrieval. He closed his eyes. Not this time. He shut the system down, picked up his weapon, and looked toward the sleeping girl. She doesn't even know who she is, he murmured. And if they find out, neither of us will survive. Outside, the twin moons rose higher, bathing the land in silver. Far above the clouds, a Terran ship changed its course, heading straight for Rizek. The hunt for the last human captain had begun. Morning came slowly on Rizek. The twin suns rose over the horizon, painting the mountains in gold and ash. Inside the old human outpost, the air felt heavy with secrets. Lyra woke to the soft hum of machines. The floor beneath her vibrated faintly, as if the base itself was breathing. For the first time in days, she wasn't cold. A thin blanket covered her, and a soft light glowed from a nearby panel. She sat up, blinking at the strange symbols on the wall. Letters she didn't know, but somehow she understood them. Access denied, user unauthorized. The words appeared clear in her mind, as if her brain translated them without effort. She frowned. How could she read human language? Reese entered quietly, carrying a steaming cup of synth coffee. His tired eyes softened when he saw her awake. Feeling better? She nodded. A little. He handed her a small ration bar. Eat, we move again soon. She took it, but didn't eat. Her gaze stayed fixed on the wall panel. Your letters. I can read them. Reese paused mid-sip. What do you mean? She pointed to the screen. Those symbols, they say, access denied. I can understand them. He set the cup down slowly. That's impossible. Your species doesn't use Terran script. Lyra shook her head. I don't know how, but I can. Reese stepped closer, studying her with a mix of curiosity and unease. Say that again. What does the screen show now? The display flickered. New text appeared. Primary system offline. Biometric scan required. Lyra tilted her head. It wants a scan, Reese cursed under his breath. So that's old military AI. It shouldn't even be working. He moved toward the panel, but before he could touch it, Lyra placed her hand on the screen. The metal glowed under her skin. Lines of blue light spread out from her palm like veins, filling the entire wall. The console beeped and unlocked with a deep mechanical hiss. User verified. Access granted. Welcome back, Project Eden prototype. The air froze. Reese's blood ran cold. He grabbed her hand and pulled it back. What did you just do? I don't know. She stammered. It just reacted when I touched it. Reese's face hardened. Eden protocols were human experiments. From before the ban. You shouldn't exist. Lyra stared at him, confused and afraid. What does that mean? He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. During the war, humans tried to create adaptive hybrids, beings who could survive on any planet, even after humanity left. They failed. Every record said the test subjects died. Her voice trembled. You think I'm one of them? He looked at her. I don't think, Lyra. I know, she backed away. But I'm not human. My people, your people might have found you, he said grimly, and sold you without ever knowing what you were. Silence filled the room. The hum of the machines grew louder, as if listening. Lyra whispered, Then, why did it call me back? Reese didn't answer. He approached the console again and began typing commands. Data flooded the screen. Old records, sealed files, project logs with human symbols. Among them, one name repeated, Captain Reese Vale, authorized guardian. He froze. Lyra saw his expression change. What is it? He turned slowly toward her. It says I was assigned as your protector. Over 20 years ago. Her eyes widened. That can't be true. He swallowed hard. I thought the mission was a failure. We lost everyone. But if this file's right, you were part of that mission. Cryo-transported off Earth before the fall. Lyra shook her head, voice breaking. I don't remember any of that. You were never meant to, he said softly. They erased the memories of every prototype. She sat down, dizzy. Then who am I? Before he could answer, the console beeped sharply. Warning. External transmission detected. Location compromised. Reese jumped up. They traced the signal. Who? She gasped. Both sides, he said grimly. The authority, and what's left of my people. Outside, engines roared across the mountains. Dust rose as black-armored hovercrafts descended toward the outpost. Reese grabbed his weapon and threw a small pack toward Lyra. "Take this. If we get separated, run east until you see the old relay tower." She stared at him, trembling. "You can't fight them all." He smiled faintly. "I don't need to. I just need to make them think I can." He pressed a button on his wrist pad. The base walls shifted, revealing hidden defense turrets. Energy crackled in the air. Lyra's heart pounded. "Why are you doing this for me?" He looked at her one last time. "Because 20 years ago, I failed to protect humanity's last hope. I won't fail again." The ground shook as explosions echoed outside. Dust fell from the ceiling. Reese turned, weapon ready, standing between her and the door. "Go, Lyra," he shouted. Tears filled her eyes. She ran through the back tunnel as blaster fire lit the hall behind her. She looked back once, just once, and saw the humans standing like a wall of steel against the storm. Outside, the suns climbed higher, and smoke rose into the morning sky. Deep inside the base, alarms screamed. The voice of the ancient AI repeated the same words again and again. Project Eden awakened, human and hybrid link re-established, and far above Rizek, a human battleship changed course. "Target located," a voice said. "Retrieve the girl. Terminate Captain Reese Vale." The sun was merciless. 2 blazing orbs burned above the wasteland, turning the air into a shimmering wall of heat. The rocky desert stretched endlessly, dry, silent, and cruel. Lyra stumbled through it, clutching the small pack Reese had given her. The wind cut across her skin, carrying sand that stung like glass. Each step hurt, but she didn't stop. Behind her, far in the distance, a column of smoke rose from the mountains. The place she had left him. She didn't know if he was alive. She didn't want to think about it. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw flashes. Blue light, broken walls. The sound of his voice shouting, "Go, Lyra!" It echoed through her mind like thunder. Hours passed. Her throat ached from thirst. Her body screamed for rest. Yet something inside kept her moving, something that whispered survive. When the suns began to fall, she found a narrow canyon and slipped into its shadow. Cool air filled the space, and for the first time since she'd run, she could breathe. She sat against the wall, opened the pack, and found a small silver canteen. Inside, water. She drank carefully, one sip at a time. Then she saw something else in the pack, a black cube glowing faintly with blue lines. When she touched it, it warmed instantly. "Data core," she murmured, remembering the words Reese had used before. Curiosity overcame fear. She pressed the top. The cube unfolded like petals, revealing a hologram. Reese's face appeared, untired, dirt-smudged, but alive. "If you're seeing this, it means you made it out," his voice said. "Good, don't come back. The outpost's gone, but the fight isn't over. Inside this device are coordinates, places where our kind hid before the purge. One of them will help you understand what you are." His image flickered. "Lyra, you were never a mistake. Remember that. And if I don't make it..." The recording cut off. Her chest tightened. She wanted to scream, to run back, to find him, but instead she whispered, "I'll find you. I promise." The cube folded back into her palm, pulsing once before going dark. Night fell. The desert turned blue and quiet. Strange lights flickered in the distance, alien fireflies dancing above the sand. Lyra lay under a broken metal arch half buried in the dust, trying to rest. But her mind wouldn't stop spinning. Project Eden, prototype, human hybrid. Who was she, really? When she closed her eyes, images flashed, not dreams, but memories. A white room filled with humming machines. Voices speaking English words she somehow understood. A woman in a white coat saying softly, "Don't be afraid, Lyra, you'll wake up in a better world." She gasped awake, heart racing. The night sky above shimmered with unfamiliar stars. Her hands glowed faintly blue, pulsing with light that faded after a moment. "What's happening to me?" she whispered. Her blood answered with a low hum, soft, electric, alive. The sand beneath her fingers vibrated as if reacting to her heartbeat. Then she heard it, a distant mechanical sound. Engines. She jumped to her feet, looking toward the horizon. Red searchlights swept across the desert. Hovercrafts, now not the authorities' black ones, but silver ships with Terran markings. Humans. Panic surged. She hid behind the rocks, watching as they passed overhead. A voice crackled through the air, robotic and cold. "Signal confirmed. Prototype still active. Begin sweep pattern." They were hunting her too. Her pulse quickened. She needed to move before they landed. She turned and sprinted through the canyon, her feet barely touching the ground. The blue glow under her skin flared again, brighter, faster. Every step she took left faint traces of light in the sand. She didn't understand it, but somehow the light made her faster, stronger. It felt natural, like breathing. At the edge of the canyon, she found an old communication tower half collapsed and covered in dust, exactly where Reese's message had pointed. She climbed it, gripping the metal bars with trembling hands. When she reached the top, she saw a small terminal still connected to power. "Please work," she whispered. She placed her hand on the interface. Instantly it lit up, recognizing her touch. Blue data streams filled the air. "Access granted, Project Eden Archive." A holographic face appeared, an older woman with kind eyes. The same woman from Lyra's memory. "Hello, child," the AI said softly. "You are the last of us," Lyra froze. "Who are you?" "Dr. Mara Vale, creator of Project Eden, and your mother," her breath caught. "My mother? You were designed to bridge what the galaxy destroyed, to heal what war broke. You carry both human code and alien life, but they will fear you for it. You must reach the Ark before they do." The image flickered. "Find Captain Rhys Vale. He was chosen to protect you, because he is your father." Lyra staggered back. The wind roared around her, but all she could hear was the pounding of her heart. "My father?" she whispered. Before she could ask more, the sky exploded with red light, ships descending fast. The hologram faded with its last words echoing, "Run, my child. The stars are watching." Lyra jumped from the tower, landing hard in the sand as energy blasts hit the metal behind her. She didn't stop. She ran, faster than before, blue light trailing her steps like a comet in the dark. Above, the human warships circled, sending out search drones. None of them knew that the girl they were hunting carried both the memory of humanity and the hope of the stars in her blood. And somewhere, beneath the ruined mountains, Captain Rhys Vale opened his eyes, alive, bleeding, and whispering her name. Dust filled the air. The old outpost lay in ruins, half buried under rock and ash. Smoke curled into the sky where the mountains once stood silent. For hours, nothing moved except the wind. Then a hand pushed through the rubble. Captain Rhys Vale crawled out, coughing hard. His armor was cracked and blood dripped down his arm. But he was alive barely. The battle was over. The authority forces had left, thinking he was dead. But Rhys had survived worse. He always did. He looked around, and nothing but wreckage. The defense turrets were melted. The command console was gone. The ground still glowed faintly where energy blasts had struck. He staggered to his feet and pulled the comlink from his belt. Static filled the line. No signal, no response. Just silence. "Lyra," he whispered. Her name was the only thing that mattered now. He limped toward the back tunnel, the same one she escaped through. Every step hurt. Every breath reminded him of how close death had come. But in his chest, something stronger than pain burned. A promise. He would find her. As he walked, fragments of memory returned, the blue light from her hand, the word Eden flashing on the console, and the voice that had identified him as Guardian. He hadn't understood it then, but now it made sense. At the tunnel's end, he found an old storage chamber still intact. Inside, among dust and crates, lay a single operational pod, a relic from the Terran Wars. He wiped the dust off the control panel. "Still alive, huh?" he muttered. The pod opened with a hiss, revealing a functioning medkit and a portable AI core. He patched his wounds, ignoring the sting, then connected the AI to his wrist pad. The small device hummed and projected a flickering figure, a woman's face, calm and stern. "Identity confirmed," it said. "Captain Rhys Vale, status missing in action." Rhys smirked weakly. "That's one way to put it." The AI blinked. "You have accessed classified Eden files. Explain." He leaned against the wall. "The girl, Lyra. She activated an old system, recognized her as Project Eden. The record said I was her guardian." The AI processed for a moment, lights flickering. "Project Eden was terminated 2 decades ago. All prototypes destroyed." "Not all," Rhys said quietly. "She's alive." The hologram paused. "Then she must be recovered immediately. Her genome carries hybrid code, unstable but powerful. If the Authority or Syndicate get her, they could restart the war." Rhys looked down. "They already are." He closed his eyes. "Tell me everything." "No more secrets." The AI hesitated. You were assigned to escort Subject E01, codename Lyra, to the Ark during Operation Exodus. You were chosen because of your genetic link to the subject. His heart skipped. Genetic link? The AI's voice softened. You are her biological father. The room fell silent. The words hit harder than any explosion. Reese's grip on the wall tightened. That's not possible. My daughter... He stopped himself. He hadn't spoken of her in 20 years. He'd buried that grief long ago. The AI continued. Dr. Mara Vale, your wife, used both of your DNA to stabilize the hybrid matrix. Lyra was created as the bridge between human and alien. But when the Ark project collapsed, she was lost. Until now, he stood there numb. For years he had fought ghosts. Missions, orders, wars that meant nothing. And all along, the last piece of his family had been alive. He whispered her name again, this time with new meaning. Lyra, my girl, the AI's tone grew urgent. Authority ships are still scanning the region. If you intend to find her, you must move now. I can project her probable trajectory. A holographic map appeared, glowing lines stretching from the mountains to the desert. A blinking blue dot marked her last known location. Reese straightened, tightening the straps on his armor. Then that's where I'm going. He grabbed a rifle from the wreckage and loaded a new cell. The exhaustion faded, replaced by resolve. You're wounded, the AI warned. Recovery is advised. No time, he said. If I don't reach her first, someone else will. He stepped outside. The twin suns were setting, turning the wasteland red and gold. Far in the distance, faint trails of smoke marked ship landings. Patch into their frequency, he said. I want to hear what they're saying. The AI connected to the enemy comms. A robotic voice came through the static. Target prototype located near the eastern ridge. Retrieval team in pursuit. Authorization. Terran High Command. Reese froze. Terran High Command? They're not supposed to exist anymore, he said. The war ended. The government fell. The AI responded. It seems not for everyone, he clenched his jaw. Then we're fighting my own kind. He looked up at the stars. The same stars he'd once sworn to defend. So be it. He adjusted his rifle, the blue light on its barrel flickering alive. His voice was quiet, but each word carried steel. They took my home, my wife. Now they want my daughter. He started walking toward the desert. Let them come. The wind rose, sweeping over the ruins, carrying dust and whispers into the night. Behind him, the wrecked base flickered one last time before going dark. Ahead, the wasteland stretched into infinity, a path lit only by his determination and the faint signal of a girl who didn't yet know she had just awakened the most dangerous man in the galaxy. And for the first time in years, Captain Reese Vale smiled, not as a soldier, but as a father. The night over Rizek burned with engines and warfire. Above the desert, two fleets clashed, the cold silver of the Terran warships and the black spines of the Rizek Authority. Lasers split the sky, turning clouds into fire. On the ground below, Lyra ran through the storm. Her body glowed with faint blue light, brighter with every step. The desert itself seemed to respond, sand lifting, swirling, alive around her. The code in her blood was no longer sleeping. She stopped at the mouth of a canyon, where old stone towers rose like broken teeth. At the center stood a massive ancient door covered in human symbols, the mark of the Ark. Her heart pounded. Reese's message, her mother's face, the truth, all of it led here. Please, she whispered, pressing her hand against the door. The symbols lit up, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Biometric match. Project Eden prototype confirmed. Arc sequence activated. The door opened with a low groan. Inside, blue light spilled out like liquid starlight. She stepped through, into a vast chamber of glass and metal filled with sleeping machines. At its heart stood a towering crystal, humming softly. It wasn't a weapon. It was a seed, a memory of Earth itself, coded with DNA from every species that once lived there. Lyra stared, her breath trembling. The last world, a voice echoed through the chamber. You were never meant to awaken it alone. She turned and froze. Through the doorway walked Reese. His armor was scarred, his face bruised, but his eyes, those same human eyes that had looked at her with warmth in the market, were alive. Reese, she cried, running to him. He caught her as she stumbled into his arms. For a moment there were no wars, no soldiers, just a father holding his child. "I thought you died," she whispered. "Not until I see you safe," he said, smiling faintly. "I've been worse." Before either could speak again, alarms blared. The chamber shook as ships descended outside. Through the entrance, dark-armored soldiers appeared, human and alien alike, their weapons raised. At their front stood a tall woman in white armor, her face calm and sharp. "Captain Vale," she said, "you've disobeyed direct orders. The girl is property of the Terran Restoration Council." Reese stepped forward. "She's not property. She's my daughter." The woman's gaze hardened. "Then you know what she carries. The key to the Ark network. That kind of power cannot belong to one person." "She isn't a weapon," Reese said. "She's what we should have been. Human enough to care, alien enough to survive." Lyra stood beside him, shaking but defiant. "I don't want your war. I just want peace." The commander raised her weapon. "Then you are a threat." Reese moved instantly, pushing Lyra behind him as he fired. Blue light flashed through the chamber. The first wave of soldiers fell, but more poured in. The walls shook under the assault. Lyra pressed her hands to the Ark's core. "It's responding to me," she shouted. "Don't activate it," Reese yelled. "We don't know what it..." But it was too late. The crystal pulsed brighter and brighter until its light filled the entire chamber. Her voice echoed, her mother's voice, soft and steady. "To save humanity, it must be reborn." Lyra's body lifted into the air. Streams of energy flowed from her palms into the core. The light spread through the walls, through the floor, through the entire mountain. Outside, both fleets paused as a wave of radiant blue expanded across the sky. Every machine froze. Every weapon powered down. Even the ships stopped firing. The voice continued. "War has taken enough. Now humanity will choose either to destroy or to begin again." Lyra's eyes opened, glowing like stars. "I choose life." The light exploded outward. When it faded, the desert was quiet. The sky was clear. The fleets were gone. Not destroyed, but vanished, disarmed, scattered across the stars. Reese woke first, lying beside the Ark. His wounds were healed, the air calm. The world smelled clean like after rain. He turned. Lyra stood beside the crystal, alive, her glow fading softly. He rose slowly. "What did you do?" "I made them see," she said. "Every soldier. Every commander. For one moment I showed them what we lost, what we could still be." He smiled, tired, proud, full of wonder. "You did what humans never could." She looked up at him, eyes shining. "Maybe that's why you made me." He laughed softly. "No, Lyra, that's why I found you." The Ark hummed gently behind them. Its light began to spread through the land, turning barren soil into green, cracked air into breath. The world was healing. Reese placed his hand on her shoulder. "You're not the end of humanity. You're its beginning." Lyra looked toward the stars where the ships had vanished. "Then let's start again." He nodded. "Together." They walked out of the Ark as dawn broke across Rizek, father and daughter, human and hybrid, the first of something new far above. In the silent void, Terran beacons blinked one by one, awakening after centuries. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the message they carried was not a command, not a warning, but a simple truth. Humanity endures. Not because it conquers, but because it cares. The light spread, star to star, and somewhere in that endless glow, the story of a girl no one would buy, and the human who chose to save her, became the legend of how hope was reborn among the stars.